All right, and good morning, everybody. My name is Megan Dumond. I am the CLSD Grant Specialist in the Division of Teaching and Learning at the Office of the State Superintendent of Education. CLSD stands for Comprehensive Literacy State Development Grant, and today I will be presenting a technical assistance pre-application webinar for our CLSD grades 6 through 12 subgrant. We're going to do some quick housekeeping, go over some important dates, background on the grant, requirements for the grant, application requirements, the review process, and we'll leave some time for questions. I am the only member of the Aussie CLSD team on this webinar today, so please have patience with me, but feel free to drop any questions you may have in the chat or hold on to them till the end for our Q&A session. So just some quick reminders, you all are doing a great job with this so far. Please mute your microphones, and if you would prefer to, you may turn off your cameras during the presentation, ask questions throughout, or hold questions for the Q&A. And this slide deck, as well as a recording of this webinar, will be made available, will be posted on the Literacy DC website following today's presentation. So some important dates. The Notice of Funding Availability, or NOFA, for the CLSD 6 through 12 grant was posted on Friday, June 17th. The RFA, Request for Applications, and the application went live on EGMS on Wednesday, July 13th. There is an optional notification of intent to apply form that I'll review that I have listed as due tomorrow, but you could submit that really at any time. But a date that cannot be changed is the application due date. So this due date, or this application, is due in the EGMS Enterprise Grants Management System by 3 p.m. on Wednesday, August 24th. That is a firm deadline, so I do recommend applying early if you are interested in this grant at the end of today's presentation. Then we anticipate announcing awards on or around Friday, September 23rd. So some background about the CLSD grant. Again, CLSD stands for Comprehensive Literacy State Development. It is a federal grant program that is distributed by the United States Department of Education. In September of 2020, Aussie was awarded a $16 million 5-year grant to improve literacy in the District of Columbia. And these funds are being used to improve language and literacy development for our state's children and students to address gaps in critical resources, staff capacity, and opportunity for district youth, specifically students who are living in qualified opportunity zones, or QOZs, which I will discuss later. In last summer and fall, we did hold a subgrant competition and actually awarded most of our CLSD funds, but we still have some funds available specifically for grades 6 through 12, and that is what this competition is about. So our focus of this grant, the CLSD grant, is targeted to prioritize children who are furthest from opportunity, including children and students living in poverty, children and students with disabilities, and English learners. Our 3 main goals for the CLSD grant by 2025 as Aussie's goals for the entire program is to support early language and literacy skills for children in kindergarten, increase the number of children reading on grade level by the end of grade 3, and boost reading proficiencies for students grade 3 through high school. So you all today are here to learn about specifically our CLSD 6 through 12 program, but I wanted to give this background so you can see the full scope of the CLSD work that Aussie is working on, and give you just the information that you may be able to work with and cooperate with other subgrantees who are working on some of these goals, even if they're outside of your grade band, because this is a comprehensive project to meet the needs of children and students from birth through grade 12. So your applications will be focused primarily on this 3rd goal here, but just wanted to give you the full scope of the work. This is a federal grant that is authorized through the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, sections 2222 through 2225, and all of this additional legislation that is the source of our funding for CLSD. CLSD legislation specifies a specific breakdown of the funds. So OSSI received $16 million over 5 years, and 95% of those funds must be allocated in the fall, or must be subgranted in the following allocations. So 40% to organizations serving grades 6 through 12, 40% to organizations serving grade 6 or K through 5. Those funds have been previously awarded, and 15% for organizations serving children birth to age 5, which has also been previously awarded. There's 5% that is retained in state funds, and that is to provide statewide activities whenever possible. So CLSD 6 through 12 subgrant funding. The total available funding for this award is approximately $2.3 million over 3 years. OSSI anticipates awarding up to 2 total subgrantees to eligible entities, and so each applicant may apply for up to $1.14 million total. That would be across the 3 years of the grant period, which will begin on October 1st, 2022 and end on September 30th, 2025. The purpose of these funds is to support LEAs in strengthening literacy development and instruction, specifically for students in grades 6 through 12, by implementing high-quality, evidence-based literacy instruction and intervention. So the grant requirements. Who is eligible to actually apply for these funds? So we are making these funds available through a competitive process, which is open now. To apply for this grant, you must be a District of Columbia local education agency. So if you are an individual school site, you are not eligible to apply. Your actual local education agency, LEA, must apply for this grant. The LEA must be serving the highest need and most underserved population of students from grades 6 through 12. And if you are an LEA that has previously received an CLSD subgrant, you are not eligible to apply. I don't think that applies to anyone here. More specifically, there are definitions from the federal CLSD legislation about who is able to apply. And in this situation, high need would mean a middle school in which not less than 50% of the enrolled students are from low income, or a high school in which not less than 40% of enrolled students are from low income families. And there's a definition there of a low income family. OSSI has also been utilizing the at-risk categorization to help us determine which LEAs are eligible for this subgrant. If you have a specific question following this webinar about if your LEA is eligible, please feel free to contact me. So in order to apply for this subgrant, just lost my words there for a second, LEAs must develop and implement a local literacy plan, or LLP, provide a full continuum of school-based literacy intervention services that's developmentally appropriate for each of the grades being served by the funding, collect data on student progress before and after interventions to serve as a form of progress monitoring, and submit mid-year and end-of-year programmatic and fiscal reports. Additionally, subgrantees are required to collaborate with the OSSI TAL grant manager, who is me, provide information such as positive outcome stories, information about special events or issues and concerns, share best practices and processes through citywide professional learning convenings on literacy, and complete questionnaires when required regarding grant programming. There are reporting and monitoring requirements for this grant, which could include providing information requested via survey and other data collection projects using methods identified by OSSI, biannual fiscal reports, and any other information required in a timely and efficient manner. Expenditure reports through EGMS within 90 days of the end of each annual budget period, and final grant activities through EGMS within 90 days of within the end of the subgrant, excuse me. The reasoning behind these reporting requirements is that we need this information to report back to the United States Department of Education to continue to receive our funding. Monitoring requirements are more of the technical assistance or the support that OSSI is offering to assist you with the implementation of your grant. So this could include site visits, collection of programmatic and performance data, some financial reporting, as well as a midterm and final report to OSSI to illustrate on an annual basis to illustrate the use of funds and the progress towards goal attainment. There is also a biannual literacy convening hosted by OSSI that subgrantees are required to participate in. And some of you may have participated in our spring 2022 literacy convening, which was a citywide event and an opportunity to bring together literacy leaders and stakeholders from across our entire district. So those are the monitoring reporting requirements, eligibility requirements. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the activities that have actually occurred through the CLSD program at OSSI. And a major milestone for us was the development and release of the Comprehensive Literacy Plan, or CLP. It is a robust resource document that was created by a team of over 50 stakeholders from across the district, to include education researchers, classroom teachers, principals, parents, and members of the OSSI team. The CLP really reflects the district's commitment to and belief that all children have the capacity to and can, with the right instruction and supports, become successful readers. The CLP will serve as a blueprint for local literacy plans, or LEA literacy plans, LLPs, that are required for the CLSD application. So again, a local literacy plan is required. The LLP should include a needs assessment, specifically identifying the gaps and needs for 6 through 12 students within your LEA, stakeholder input to create guiding principles for your specific LEA about literacy interventions, evidence-based strategies, and a timeline for implementation. OSSI has created a set of resources and supports for the development of your local literacy plan. Some of you may have attended our LLP sessions last spring, where we provided some technical assistance. There are webinars that are linked here, as well as on our Literacy DC page that I will share the link to in a moment. And these are video recordings going through the LLP process. We also have templates going through the LLP process. Let me actually drop that link in the chat now. So here's more of a deep dive into some of the offerings. If you're on the local literacy plan page, there is the template that you can see, which you can download a copy and you can utilize. You are required to create a local literacy plan, but you are not required to use a specific template. So if your LEA or organization already has a literacy plan that you would like to just update and adapt for this grant, then that is acceptable. These are resources that are just meant to support you in this work. There's also a self-assessment, and the tool can be used by 6 through 12 organizations to help you determine your needs or areas of strength. Again, if you have already conducted a process similar to this within your LEA or organization, there's no need to rehash that. A lot of organizations and LEAs I know have been doing this kind of work, given the response that's been required to the COVID-19 pandemic. So these are supports that are meant to assist you. You're not required to use these exact documents, but I do hope that you'll find them to be helpful. Okay, so now back into some of the grant management piece of all of this. So allowable use of funds. So grant funds may be used, obviously, for allowable grant project expenditures, which I'll go through in just a moment. Funding may not be used for travel expenses, but funding may be used to cover the cost of salaries and benefits of grantee personnel, materials, and training. Subgrantees must use funds to supplement and not supplant non-federal funds that would otherwise be used for activities authorized under this grant. So some examples of some of the allowable activities for grades 6 through 12 under CLSD is the development and implementation of comprehensive literacy instruction and a plan for that instruction for grades 6 through 12. Training principals, education, or your instructional leaders, school librarians, and other personnel to support, develop, and administer high quality comprehensive literacy instruction initiatives for grades 6 through 12, and assess the quality of adolescent comprehensive literacy instruction as part of a well-rounded education. And that's directly from the legislation, which authorizes the CLSD grant. What this may look like in your LEA or within your school sites could be hiring a literacy specialist who oversees the development and implementation of comprehensive literacy instruction, a team of literacy specialists or coaches, purchasing a curriculum that is high quality and evidence-based, or also we have some of our previous subgrantees who have used some of these funds to support apprentice teachers who provide more explicit and direct intervention to students who need the additional support. So those are some examples of how the funds could be used. Additionally, the funds could be used to provide time for teachers to actually meet and plan evidence-based instruction, and basically for the coordination of school-wide efforts and school-wide personnel or LEA-wide personnel to work on and learn more about comprehensive literacy instruction, evidence-based high-quality literacy instruction interventions to meet the needs in a developmentally appropriate way of all the students being served within your LEA. There are additionally activities that are available across the kindergarten through grade 12 spectrum for CLSD. This subgrant, again, is specifically only for grade 6 through 12, but wanted to give you the full scope of how funds may be used. So again, you could recruit, train, and compensate literacy coaches. You could connect out of school time learning to in-school learning, train families and caregivers in the improvement of adolescent literacy, provide multi-tier systems of support for literacy, form a school-based literacy leadership team to develop, implement, and assess your literacy curriculum. And again, providing time for teachers or other relevant school personnel to meet to discuss comprehensive literacy instruction. All right, so we've gone through the background, what OSSI has done so far with CLSD, and some of the different things that you could do with these grant funds. Now we're going to discuss how to actually apply for a CLSD 6 through 12 subgrant. So all applications must be submitted through the EGMS system, the Enterprise Grants Management System, which some of you may have some familiarity with, and the following slides will give some more details. Just want to highlight that because this is a competitive grant, everyone who wants to apply must also complete the certifications and assurances tabs of the central data application for fiscal year 2023. So this is a competitive grant. So all LEAs who wish to apply must make sure they've completed the central data application on EGMS. And at this time, you must make sure you have completed the certification and assurances tab on EGMS in order to apply. Going back very quickly, all applications must be received no later than 3 p.m. on Wednesday, August 24th. Just go ahead and write on your calendar that this is due on August 23rd. Get it in, get it done, and submit so that way we don't have any timeline issues. Late submissions will not be accepted. Even if you are almost done and it is 3:01 and you hit submit, it will not be accepted. So please make sure you schedule accordingly. Just in your brain, tell yourself it's due August 23rd. Here are some tips for navigating EGMS. Essentially, save early, save often. It is an online web-based platform. It's technology. We all have a lot of experience with being on a lot of technology given the pandemic. So you know how it goes. Save your work elsewhere. Make sure you save often. And again, early work on this application and early submission is the key to avoiding as many technical errors as possible. If you need assistance, you'll see that I've put stars next to these, this helpful information. There is an EGMS help that is ossi.callcenter@dc.gov. There is a phone number that you may call, and you can also get in touch with me if you have issues on EGMS, and I will do my best to assist. But start and submit early, that is the key. Within EGMS, within the application, there are the following tabs that you'll need to complete for the CLSD 6 through 12 subgrant. First is contact information for your LEA, very straightforward. Next is program selection. So There are 2 program grade bands, grades 6 through 8, grades 9 through 12. You may select both if your LEA is planning to use funds to meet the needs of students across the 6 through 12 spectrum. You'll provide an executive summary, which is just an overview of your project and how you plan to use CLSD subgrant funds if awarded. You will submit your local literacy plan, provide details about school selection, your understanding of school and student needs, provide program goals. I believe we request 3 specific program goals for your entire CLSD project. Your program implementation and monitoring, financial management and sustainability. That section is very straightforward, asking you questions essentially about how your LEA plans to use the funds and the systems that you have in place to meet requirements, national requirements for fiscal management. And finally, competitive priority points. So let's dig a little bit in. For your budget, you will be asked to provide both a budget narrative and an actual budget. So the budget narrative is where you can really share the details of how you plan to use the funds, and the actual budget itself is where you'll be entering in, we'll buy 100 books at $1 each, and that will cost $100. So both of these things are part of the application, so please do be aware of that. Your narrative should include the cost of all deliverables, and you should use the budget categories that are identified in the grant application. That the budget categories off the top of my head are, salaries and benefits for any personnel, professional services, should you be bringing in any contractors or vendors to do work, professional development, supplies and materials, that would be if you were purchasing any books. And then there's some other categories like equipment or other materials that you're probably less likely to be using in the development of your budget, but are also available to you within EGMS. And just so you know, the budget is not going to be scored strictly on the dollars per student, but consider the number of students being served and the intensity and expected impact of the intervention. So that might be something you want to include in your narrative. When you go to submit on EGMS, you must hit consistency check, and then you will lock the application to submit, and you will see buttons like these blue buttons on EGMS to guide you with that work. So required documents, there is an optional notification of intent to apply form, and that form you'll be able to find in this this OneDrive folder that I'm about to drop into the chat that should hopefully work and have the materials that I'm reviewing today. If you would like to submit the notification of intent to apply form, that would be very helpful to OSSI. It is due tomorrow by 5, but if it comes in later than that, that's okay. Again, this is optional and is not a requirement. What is required is an administrative approval form. You should also be able to download that from this folder that I've just dropped, which hopefully works. And you can also download it directly through EGMS. There is a link. You'll download that form. It basically requests signatures from the leadership of your LEA and the school sites that would be participating, just so that everyone is aware that that this project is occurring, that they may be asked to participate in it. And you'll just upload that into EGMS. And then the other required document is your local literacy plan, which again can be developed using the OSSI tools and templates that are provided, or can be an adaptation or a submission of a plan that your organization has already worked on that meets the standards that were listed. The application review process. So again, the deadline is 3 p.m. on Wednesday, August 24th. Please submit early. Late applications will not be accepted, and all application materials will only be accepted through EGMS. So if you email me something, it will not be accepted. It must be submitted all through EGMS. All applications will be, thank you, Marjorie, for that question. The local literacy plan will be due with the application. So it would also be due by August 24th. But something to keep in mind is that your LLP can be a living document. So if you are awarded a CLSD 6 through 12 subgrant, and in your first year of implementation, you find that you'd like to make a revision, you are able to do that. But for the submission of this subgrant, you do need to submit a local literacy plan. So again, and all of that is due on Wednesday, August 24th by 3 p.m. in EGMS. All applications will be scored by a team of external reviewers, and it will be reviewed, scored, and ranked using the CLSD 6 through 12 subgrant rubric, which can be found on EGMS and in the RFA document. And we anticipate announcing subgrantee awards on or around Friday, September 23rd. And then the grant period again would start on October 1st or the next business day. I'm not sure which day of the week October 1st is this year. So the applications will be reviewed by a panel of external reviewers, and they will be composed of, the external reviewers are neutral, qualified professional individuals. They'll be selected based on their expertise and knowledge of the field, specifically of literacy instruction, secondary instruction and education. All external reviewers will be required to sign a contract of interest statement, so you can rest assured that the individuals who are reviewing your applications will not have a conflict of interest, and will be reviewing from a neutral position. When the panel review is completed, the panel members will make recommendations for awards using the scoring rubric. And then the actual state superintendent of education, OSSI, will consider recommendations and make final award decisions after we've received all the information. Yes, Marjorie. Well, okay, so the notice of intent to apply form is due tomorrow. The admin approval form is due with your application. So you'll actually upload that to EGMS. And the NOI again is totally optional. It's just if you would like to submit it. So going through the subgrant application, there are 4 sections. And each is worth a variety of various amounts of points. I'll go through each do I have each in here? Let me check my notes. Oops. I'm sorry, is everyone's screen freaking out now? Okay, all right. I'm sorry, everyone. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing for a second. Don't know why that's happening. You know, it's not an event in 2022 unless something technological happens, you know? Okay, so we were on slide, I believe, 41. Yes, okay. So here's our rubric. And there are, as I said, 4 sections. And the first section is program. There is also the executive summary. The executive summary is not a scored section, but it is helpful for the reviewers and for the OSSI team to get to know your project. Within section A, there's grant requirements. That's where you'll add your local literacy plan. You'll discuss your school sites and your understanding of student needs, and you'll also establish your program goals. Section B is more about the program implementation and monitoring. How are you using the funds? What will the program implementation look like? How will you monitor this through data collection and evaluation? Section C, again, is very straightforward. It's regarding financial management and the systems and structures in place within your LEA and organization. And section D is priority points. And that should actually say 10 and not 15. So I apologize for that error. There are up to 10 priority points that will be available. 5 points are available if your LEA or organization is serving students attending schools located within qualified opportunity zones or QOZs. And then also you can receive 5 points if you demonstrate on your application within the competitive priority points tab that you will be implementing evidence-based practices and strategies, and that will require you to actually either upload or link to documentation that demonstrates that the strategies you're using meets the highest levels of evidence to be considered evidence-based. So qualified opportunity zones, there is an information sheet that's linked on this slide deck, and I will send that in my follow-up information. But these are the schools that are part of the qualified opportunity zones. QOZs is something that was established by the census. And so OSSE does not have any say or insight into which schools have been designated as QOZs. You are not required to be serving students in a QOZ to apply for this grant, but you will receive priority points, as it is a priority of the Department of Education, who is our funder, to meet the needs of these students. If you are serving students, if you're an LEA that has multiple school sites and you have 1 or 2 schools that are in QOZs, you can note that, and that could qualify you for the priority points in the application. And if you have additional questions about that, again, there's an info sheet that I should have the link to, but I will definitely email to everyone on this call today and make sure it is linked on our Literacy DC page. And then some CLSD resources. So Literacy DC is a comprehensive website, a suite of resources that we've been developing through CLSD, and we continue to update as more state activities occur and as grant opportunities become available. So on the Literacy DC page, you'll actually be able to see the comprehensive literacy plan, the local literacy plan resources, and information about our existing CLSD subgrantees, or previously awarded, excuse me. And then the United States Department of Education also has a CLSD page where you can learn more about the federal program and about the other states that actually participate. And that is one cool feature of this program as well, that several other states are CLSD subgrantees, and there is a technical assistance network. So as questions arise, we do have the opportunity to reach out to other states and state education agencies to brainstorm and thought partner. So that's kind of a cool thing for CLSD. And here is the contact information. So again, my name is Megan Dumont. I'm a program analyst in the Division of Teaching and Learning, and I manage this grant. So please feel free to reach out to me at osse.clsd@dc.gov or at my personal email address, megan.dumont@dc.gov. Or you can feel free to call my desk, which is 202-727-3666, and I will do my best to assist you. And you can also see the Literacy DC website. Okay, I'm going to also try to share very quickly with you the Literacy DC or some of the websites. So the folder link that I sent hopefully shows you these materials. You'll be able to find the administrative approval form, which you can download and upload with your application. You can see the NOFA, the optional notice of intent to apply, the RFA, and the scoring rubric. This is the optional notice of intent to apply form, which you can download and email back to me. And then this is the administrative approval form. This is what it looks like. And just very basic. You can get this digitally signed or physically signed and scan in, and this will go into your EGMS application. Also, here is, let me scroll back down. This is the Literacy DC website. So it's just osse.dc.gov/page/literacy-DC. And this gives an overview of our work, and these buttons can take you to wherever you need to go to get information. You can either go to the statewide literacy plan, which is where you can find the CLP. You can find our introductory video. You can go to local literacy plan resources, and this is where you'll see information about the local literacy plan, the templates. And you can also go to the CLSD page, which is where all of this information is linked about the grant program. Okay, and I will stop sharing now. Go back to my PowerPoint Live. Oh no, so the message, okay, so the folder link did not work. Let me try to grab it again for you all. Thank you for your patience. There we go. Okay, share. So we are moving over to using OneDrive versus Google. So thank you, especially for your patience as I am learning more about how to use these features to share. Okay, I need the link apply, copy. Let's try this again. Okay. And I'm going to stop recording now. Or actually, no, I'm going to leave recording on for just a moment in case there are any questions that may be beneficial for other individuals who may watch this webinar. So if there are any questions, you can feel free to drop them in the chat or unmute yourself and ask them to me directly. And hopefully the folder link that I've just shared actually works. If there are no questions, this is the end of the presentation, so you can feel free to go, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing your applications come in through EGMS. I will stay on the line to answer any questions you may have or any questions that come up in the chat. Wonderful, it worked. Thank you, Marjorie. Oh, and thank you, Marta. I'm glad that this was informative. Okay, I will stop recording.